So let's start with the first question, which we should always answer above all other questions. The question that has plagued humanity from its very beginning, in the sense of when it began to question God. How can we know that God exists? If there is an all-powerful, all-knowing creator that happened to make the heavens and the earth, then it would seem that there should be evidence that God does exist. And I would say there indeed is. Now, some scientists attempt to answer this question by saying, no, there isn't evidence for God's existence, that in fact we can explain the universe without God. I would argue that they're using the wrong tools. Science is useful for things that you can test and see and experience, but God is something beyond the physical world. Even though he is immanent in it, he's separate from it. So science should not help us answer whether or not God exists. The best sources to go would be theology, philosophy, and logic. Theologically speaking, the Bible does seem to indicate God's existence and that nature supports it. In Psalm 19:1 through 2, it states, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaim his handiwork. Day unto day pours out speech, and night unto night reveals knowledge." The psalmist is arguing that the created order explains and shows God exists, that he is real and he is around us. So how does creation do that? I would say as you look at the brilliance of a sunset, as you look at the majesty of the waterfall, as you look at how awesome our created order is, it demands the existence of a God. And in fact, logic seems to support this. As we look at one argument in order to answer this question, how do we know that God exists? We can use the cosmological argument and three basic statements that it gives us in order to support that God indeed is real. What are those statements? The major premise, everything that began to exist was caused. And then a minor premise, the universe began to exist. That leads us to one inevitable conclusion: the universe was caused. This is a valid argument, an argument that is yet to be defeated, but we have to ask ourselves, are each of the premises within this argument sound? Is it true? If it's true, then the conclusion has to be true, that the universe was caused by someone. Let's look at each premise separately. Everything that began to exist was caused. Is that a true premise? The answer is yes. This most certainly is true because we cannot live otherwise. Think about it for a second. Do you tonight, when you crawl into your bed and you begin to get under the covers and you pull them up tight underneath your neck, do you all of a sudden realize that there's a mortal fear in your soul that an elephant can materialize above your bed right where you are and crush you where you lay? No, we don't think that way at all. The reason we don't think that way is nothing seems to just pop into existence out of nothing. That if something begins to exist, something else caused that existence. Everything that began to exist was caused. You were caused. Your parents were that cause. Your parents were caused, namely your grandparents, and so on and so forth, all the way to the first human beings. Everything was caused by something else, right? Well, if that's true, then let's look at the second premise. The universe began to exist. Did the universe begin to exist? There are only two options. We either say that the universe is eternal, that it is infinite, that it's never had a beginning and therefore will never have an end, or we would say that the universe is finite and has a beginning. One of those options is true. Is the universe infinite or did it begin to exist? Logically, we can argue that it indeed has a beginning because of the problem with infinity. Infinity is a philosophic construct. We think about it in our minds. We can philosophize about it, but it doesn't actually exist in our space-time continuum. How do we know it doesn't exist in space-time? Because it doesn't work out mathematically. Think of this, for example. Assume that I have a wallet of infinite amount of money. Boy, do I wish this were true. It's not, but say my wallet had infinite money inside of it, and I would never run out of money because the more money I take out, the more money I have. Well, if I wanted to give you infinity, what could I do? I could simply hand you the wallet. In that equation, infinity minus infinity is 0. I had infinity, I gave it away, you now have infinity, I have nothing. But let's say that I decided, wait a minute, I don't want to give away all that money, I still want an infinite amount of money. So I could then pull into my wallet and then give you every bill that I take out and keep every other bill for myself. If I do that, you have infinity, I have infinity. So in that equation, infinity minus infinity is infinity. But let's say, you know what, I think I just need enough money for maybe lunch today or tomorrow. I pull out $20, I give you the rest. The same equation 3 different times, but gave us 3 different answers. Infinity minus infinity before was 0. Infinity minus infinity in problem number 2 was infinity. But infinity minus infinity in problem number 3 was 20. The answer then is there is no such existence of infinity in the mathematical world. Once you're there, you can never come back. Which means that if the universe had an infinite number of past days, we should never have reached today. That means our universe logically must have a beginning. Even science argues that the universe had a beginning. They call it the Big Bang. Believe it or not, I believe in the Big Bang. Just my Big Bang is slightly different. See, God spoke and bang, it happened. The Big Bang is in effect science explanation for a beginning. The universe began to exist, it popped in to existence. So if even science says that the universe has a beginning, then that means everything that began to exist was caused. The universe had a beginning. The universe, therefore, was caused. And what is the only thing, the only one, big enough to cause the immense universe that we now live in? The answer is God. The cosmological argument is an irrefutable argument that shows God must exist. So how do we know that God exists? Because of the universe. The universe was created. The universe is not infinite. And it screams, God is here. I'm Professor Daniel Andrew Elliott, pastor of Sion Church, to answer your questions about the Bible.